Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Steven's going to be teaching you how to play Last Christmas by Wham. Now, off the bat, I've got to give big props to Steven for writing a beautiful sounding arrangement, and I actually got a chance to play through the entire tune earlier today. And I've got to say that it's perfectly suited for this seasoned intermediate to budding advanced player. So if that's where you're at in your playing, this should be a fun and challenging fingerstyle piece to learn. Now let's take a step back and talk a little bit about how this lesson is going to work. So in this video, which is the part 1 lesson, Steven's going to be teaching you the first half of the tune. If you want to watch the part 2 lesson, which covers the second half, you can do so by clicking this link right here or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for Last Christmas. Now also on that page will be the tabs that you can print off and follow along with, plus the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tabs scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Steven to teach you how to play this, and then I'll see you at the end of the video.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this Christmassy lesson on Last Christmas by Wham, which is just an absolute classic Christmas tune in my opinion. I don't think there's a Christmas hits compilation out there that doesn't have this song on it somewhere, for good reason. And yeah, it's a little bit cheesy and totally 80s, but then cheesy and 80s pretty much sums up my childhood Christmases. So when I hear this song, it just gives me those warm, fuzzy Christmas feels, and who can argue with that? So let's get stuck into it because it's quite a long song, got about 40 measures of music to learn here. So grab your ukulele, make sure it's in high G, and let's get into it. So for this piece, we're just in 4/4 time, so we have our 4 quarter notes to the bar. We're in the key of C, and the tempo we're going to be aiming for is around about 110 BPM. So it's not too fast, but it's got a nice kind of steady flow to it. With the right hand, we're mostly doing finger picking work here. There's a little bit of strumming involved, but it's mostly picking. And the left hand, there are some tricky bits. It's up and down the neck quite a lot, and a little bit of barring to do here and there, but it's not too bad, and we'll take it slow as we always do. So I'll break it down one bar at a time. We'll look at a couple of bars together, and then we'll stop and play them together. I'll do the usual zooming in on the fretboard and play it a lot slower so you can kind of play along and see how it's played there and observe it a bit more closely. So let's start with the A section, the intro, and let's get into this. So we'll start with the A section, the intro. This makes up the first 8 measures of the piece. So the first 2 measures we'll look at now, they should sound something like this. Okay, so let's have a look at how we're doing that. So for the first measure, we're playing the rhythm 1, 2 and 3, 4 and we're going to start on this kind of version of a G shape. So we're going to use our first finger and third finger on the A string at the 5th fret with the first finger, then the E string at the 7th fret with the third finger, and then the C string we can ignore, we're not playing that, and then just the G string open. So I'll probably play these 2 with 2 fingers together. I'm going to go for the middle finger and the ring finger, thumb on the G string, and then on beat 1 we're just going to play that shape, the A, the E and the G. Let that ring for a full quarter note. Then on beat 2 we play it again, then the and after beat 2 we hit it once more, and then straight after that on beat 3 we're now going to move this same shape down 2 frets. So just keep the same fingers on, even keep them kind of touching the strings, release the pressure, but then just move them down 2 frets so they're in this position, and then picking the same strings, the A, the E and the open G again, and we play that on beat 3, and then on beat 4 play that again, and then the and after beat 4 as well, we play it once more. So that measure 1 we would just have. Okay, and then straight into measure 2, we go back up 2 frets to where we were onto that G shape, and we play here. So the rhythm we're going to play for measure 2 is 1 and 2 and 4. So beat 1 is just that shape again, and then the and after beat 1 once again, and on beat 2, then the and after beat 2 we just move it back down 2 frets to where it was to make it this A minor 7 shape. So we play that on the and after beat 2, but then just let that ring over beat 3, and then the and after beat 3, pick it again, and then on beat 4, pick it once more. Okay, so measures 1 and 2 again would be. So let's have a go at playing those two measures now together. 2, 3, 4. So on to measures 3 and 4 now. They should sound like this. Okay, so what we're going to do here, from our A minor 7 shape we were holding at the end of measure 2, we're going to go to this E minor 7 shape, and what we're going to do is use our two fingers here that aren't being used. They're going to come over to hold this shape, so the second finger will come onto the G string at the 4th fret, and then the pinky will come onto the A string at the 5th, and then these two can come off, and then we're holding that shape there. Okay, so we've got our E minor 7, and we're going to play for measure 3, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and, so back to the same rhythm we just played in measure 1, and then we're going to play on beat 1, that shape there, the A, the E and the G, so the same 3 strings that we're playing as the first 2 measures. So beat 1, let that ring for a quarter note, then on beat 2, hit it again, and then straight after on the and after beat 2 once more. So 3 times in total there, 1, 2 and. Then on beat 3, a bit like before, we're just going to move it down 2 frets, so the same shape, keep it on, just move it down 2 frets, so we're at the 2nd and 3rd fret now. Play the same strings, and then beat 3, that's what we're playing. Let that ring, and then beat 4, and the and after beat 4, just play it twice more. So measure 3, that's what we've got. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. Okay, then straight into measure 4, we just go back up 2 frets, and we're going to play the rhythm now, 1 and 2 and 4 and. So just missing that beat 3 there. So what we're going to do is play this shape here 3 times, so 1 and 2 is, and then the and after beat 2, we're going to drop it down 2 frets to where we were before, play that on the and after beat 2, let that ring over beat 3, then the and after beat 3, we're going to play this little sequence up the neck just on the A string, so this finger can come off, but keep the pinky on. We'll use this pinky, move it up 2 frets to the 5th fret, just pick that single note on the and after beat 3, and then on beat 4, move it up 2 frets to the 7th, and then the and after beat 4, slide it up to the 10th fret. Okay, so don't pick it there, just use the slide to sound that note out. So those last 3 notes we'd have. Okay, so let's have a go at, well, I'll play it once more for you, and then we'll have a go together. So those 2 measures would be. Okay, so let's have a go at doing those together now. 2, 3, 4. So on to measures 5 and 6 now. This is our starting point. We have our pinky on here, the A string at the 10th from the end of measure 4. So now we're going to put this alternative version of an A minor 7 on. So we're going to leave that on, but then we're going to add the second finger to the E string at the 8th, and then the third finger is going to loop over onto the C string at the 9th. And now we're going to ignore the G string. We've been using that one in the previous measures, but leave the G string now. We're going to play the A, the E and the C together. So I would use the 3 fingers together, index, middle and ring finger, just to pick those 3 strings together. So for measures 5 and 6, we would have, no we wouldn't, we'd have this. Okay, so measure 5, the rhythm is 1, 2 and 3, 4 and, so again just like measure 1. So on beat 1 we're playing that shape, that A minor 7, then on beat 2 and the and after beat 2 just play it twice more. Then on beat 3 we're going to keep those 2 fingers on, but the pinky's going to come off and the first finger is going to squeeze on at the 8th fret on the A string. So a little bit of squeeze there, the first and second fingers both on that kind of 8th fret together, which can be a squeeze if your ukulele is quite small or the string spacing is quite narrow. Could maybe try and do a bar thing. Actually, no, you couldn't, that's horrible. Give it a go though, but I reckon try and squeeze both fingers on there, and that will give you this now D minor 7 shape on beat 3. So beat 3, again, those 3 strings together, basically just taking that A string down 2 frets, the other 2 fingers as they were, and then let that ring over beat 3, and then 4, and we just hit that shape twice more. Okay, so measure 5 there. Brill. Then straight into measure 6, we're going to go back up to that A minor 7 shape, so just the pinky back on, and you could possibly leave that first finger on because we're going to come back to it in a moment. So we'll play here on measure 6, we're going to play 1 and 2 and 4. So beat 1 and 2, that shape there, the A minor 7, and then the and after beat 2, take off the pinky, the first finger's there ready on the A string at the 8th, play that shape on the and after beat 2, let that ring over beat 3, then the and after beat 3, we're going to play single note, A string at the 10th, so pinky back on, pick that single note, and then beat 4, just move it up 2 frets to the 12th fret, and that can come off that shape as you do it, and then just pick that on beat 4. Okay, so measures 5 and 6 once more would be smashing. So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures together now. 2, 3, 4. So on to measures 7 and 8 now. They should sound like this. Okay, so from the end of measure 6, we had our pinky on the A string at the 12th, nothing else was going on. So into measure 7, we just need to bring our first and second fingers down to the A string at the 7th, E string at the 8th, nothing else is being held. We'll pick those 2 notes, the A and the E, with the open G. And then measure 7, we're going to be playing 1, 2 and 3, 4 and, so the same rhythm again as measure 1. So beat 1, we're going to play those 3 notes together, the A, the E and the G. And then on beat 2 and the and after beat 2, we're just going to take those top 2 strings on their own, not with the open G this time. So beat 2, that double stop, then again on the and after beat 2. Okay, so we'll play that 3 times in total, 1, 2 and. Then on beat 3, we're going to come down to this G shape like we had in measure 1. Now I do this by using the same 2 fingers and just twisting the hand around to spread them out and bringing them down to the 5th and the 7th. Okay, that works for me. You could try and change the fingers over so that the first string finger stays on the A string and comes down 2 frets, but then the third finger takes the E string at the 7th. You could do that if you wanted. See which way works for you. I prefer that way, just to keep the same 2 fingers in motion there, in contact with the strings. But if you prefer to do that and swap the second and the third, you do whatever works for you. Have a little experiment with that and see what you prefer. So either way, on beat 3, we're playing this G shape here with our A string at the 5th, E string at the 7th, and open G. So play that on beat 3. Let that ring over beat 3, and then beat 4, just that double stop together, and after beat 4, play it again. So measure 7 was, okay, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. Then into measure 8, we're going to be playing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we're going to go back to our C shape, 7 and 8 on the A and the E. Play those 3 notes together, so the 2 top strings with the open G. Then the and after beat 1, hit that double stop again. Beat 2, same double stop once more. And then on the and after beat 2, drop that down again to the G shape, 5th and the 7th. Just play that double stop, so just those 2 notes together. Then on beat 3, just tap that open G string just to kind of keep the rhythm going of that measure. And then back up on the and after beat 3 to the 7 and 8 shape, the C shape, and then straight after on beat 4, back down again to this G shape. Okay, so that measure 8. So 7 and 8 together should sound like this. So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures together now. 2, 3, 4. So onto the B section now. The chorus, measures 9 and 10, should sound like this. Okay, so with this song being so iconic and everyone knows it, I think go for the whole sort of, if you can play it, you can sing it approach. It's not too difficult rhythmically, and we will look at the rhythm as we do, measure by measure. We'll have the rhythm hits up on screen. But I think if you're just singing this to yourself as you're playing it, I think it'll just really help you get that rhythm sort of nailed on. So if we just strip out the melody from those two measures that we're looking at, we want to make sure that we're hearing everything else in there is just filler, so those notes, kind of the G string taps and the C string open at the end of measure 9, or near the end of measure 10, sorry, they're just kind of like gently played just to kind of fill and keep the rhythm going. So if we look at measure 9, we're on this C suspended 2 chord. So what we want to do is we're going to do a first finger bar, and that'll become apparent soon because we'll need that A string at the 3rd fret. So the first finger is going to bar across the A and the E at the 3rd fret. And then the C and the G just open. Then the 3rd finger will take the A string at the 5th. So we're fretting the 5th fret with this finger, but we do want the first finger to be also fretting the 3rd fret behind it. We'll see why in a second. So we're going to play here for measure 9. We're going to play 1, 2, and 4 and. So beat 1 is this C suspended 2 shape. So just on beat 1, we'll just play that. And you could pick those notes, but I tend to do a kind of just strum down with my index finger. You could use a thumb. Again, with the right hand, I'll show you what I do, but very much kind of you do what you prefer or what feels comfortable. Copy me if you want to, but if you have another way of playing it, I think anything goes really with this. So beat 1, strum down or whatever you want to do on that C suspended 2 shape, then let that ring over beat 1, then beat 2, just a little rhythmic, gentle kind of almost ghost note, just tap that G string just to kind of keep the rhythm going. And then the and after beat 2, we're going to hit that double stop that we're holding, the A at the 5th and the E at the 3rd. So just pick those 2 notes together, then let that ring over beat 3, then the and after beat 3, that single note pick of the A string at the 3rd. So the 3rd finger comes off here, which is why we're doing this bar, because now we're automatically holding that A string at the 3rd. So we can just pick that note, and then on beat 4, another little gentle, quieter tap of that G string, because that's not a melody note, it's just a little filler note. But in the and after beat 4, we are on a melody note here, so we'll pick this a little bit louder. So the and after beat 4 is just this E string at the 3rd fret, but we're already holding it with our little bar that we're doing now, a little half bar across. So just pick that on the end after beat 4, the and after beat 4, sorry. So measure 9. Okay, then straight into measure 10. We're going to keep this shape held because we need it now for measure 10. So we're going to put the 3rd finger back on to the A string at the 5th, but we're still doing our little half bar across here with the 1st finger. And then we just play those 3 notes together. And if you caught the G string as well, that wouldn't matter. If you've got the tab printed off, it doesn't show the G string being played there, but it wouldn't matter if you did. So a little strum on that shape again. So we're playing here now the rhythm 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, so it's just all 8th notes in this measure. So beat 1 was that shape, then the and after beat 1, just single note pick on that A string at the 5th. But then on beat 2 we're going to go up to the 7th now, so we'll use the pinky for that and just put the pinky on the 7th and pick that on beat 2. We can take that finger off behind because when we play the and after beat 2, we're going to the A string at the 3rd fret now. So that finger can come off, pinky comes off as well to allow that A string at the 3rd. But our little half bar here that we're still holding is playing that already. And again, like I've mentioned in previous lessons, when we're practicing this quite slowly, that's going to start aching, or the thumb will start aching because mine is already from holding this for so long. So do sort of take it off and shake it off while we're practicing. Once we're playing this at speed, that won't be held for very long, but while we're practicing, it's a lot longer. So, do take it off, give your thumb a rest, put it back on again. Okay, so that was the and after beat 2. We just picked that note. Then the next 2 8th notes, beat 3 and the and after beat 3, are just little gently played filler notes just to keep the rhythm going. So 2 open strings, beat 3 in the end after beat 3, nice and quiet. But then these last 2 notes of this measure, beat 4 and the end after beat 4, these 2 G notes are melody notes. So I want to pick those a little bit louder. Okay, so the E string at the 3rd on beat 4, and then same note but play it with the open G this time on the end after beat 4. So that measure 10. So you can hear the melody and those 2 little notes on beat 3 in the end after beat 3, just little filler notes. So we play them nice and quiet. So those 2 measures together, once again, it should sound like this. Okay, so let's have a go at playing those 2 measures together now. 2, 3, 4. So on to measures 11 and 12 now, they should sound like this. Okay, so if we strip out the melody, we want to be hearing, and then everything else is just kind of filler, just to kind of keep the rhythm going. So if we look at measure 11, we're playing the rhythm 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and then we're still doing this little half bar from measure 9 and 10 into measure 11. This is still being held at the 3rd fret there. And then beat 1 is just going to be this A string at the 5th and the C string at the 4th. We're just going to pick those 2 notes together. It looks like this first finger isn't needed, but it's going to come to play shortly. So we will leave it there. It makes sense to leave it there because we will need it again soon. But for beat 1, we're just playing the A and the C, and we're holding them here with these 2 fingers. So pick those 2 notes together. On beat 1, the and after beat 1, just hit that A string at the 5th once more, single note pick on that one. Then on beat 2, we want the A string at the 7th, so the pinky will go on there to play that single note A string at the 7th. And then the and after beat 2, just a little quiet tap of the G string, not melody, just rhythm, so a little quiet tap. And then on beat 3, we're going to go to this A minor shape now. So pinky comes off. This 3rd finger, which is doing the A string at the 5th now, is just going to come over and do the E string at the 5th. And then that there, C string 4th, E string 5th, A string 3rd. That's our A minor chord. So we'll play that on beat 3 and let that ring over beat 3. Then on beat 4, little quiet G string tap, not melody again, a little rhythm tap. But then the and after beat 4, this open A string is melody, so we'll hit it a little bit louder. This first finger bar can come off now. About time, and then just pick that open A on the end after beat 4, but leave these 2 fingers on because we want those in a moment. In fact, that moment is now, because straight into measure 12, what we want to do now is play this little sequence here at the beginning of measure 12. So the rhythm for measure 12, 1 and 2 and 4 and. This first bit, 1 and 2 and, this is the melody. That last little bit is just a little bit of filler. So this first little section, these first 4 notes will play a little bit louder. So from this shape, we're holding these 2 notes, still leave them on. What we're going to do is put the first finger onto the A string at the 2nd now. So we're holding this shape, play those 3 notes together. That's on beat 1. The and after beat 1 we won't pick, we'll just use a slide of this note, 2nd fret up to the 3rd. That will be our and after beat 1. So that's what we're going for, 1 and. So just slide it up, that's 1 and, then beat 2, back to that 2nd fret, so just move that first finger back down a fret to where it was, pick that single note, and then the and after beat 2, open A, so take the first finger off, just pick that open A. Let that ring over beat 3, then the and after beat 3, beat 4, and the and after beat 4, these last 3 little 8th notes are just open strings, so the open G. Probably keep these on as you play the open G so it all rings for a little bit longer, but as you play the open G, hit that, then take them off, then the open E on beat 4, the open C on the and after beat 4. So once again, we're looking for just missed one of those notes there, so I'll do that again. Brilliant. So let's have a go at playing that together now. 2, 3, 4. So on to measures 13 and 14 now. They should sound like this. Okay, so once again, the melody we're after is... So that's what we want to hear. Again, everything else in between that is just filler. So for measure 13, we're playing 1, 2 and 4 and. So it sounds a little bit strange rhythmically, but again, just kind of sing it in your head as you're playing it and it will make more sense to you, I think. So beat 1 is this D minor add 9. So essentially we're playing this shape. So 5, 5, 7. Back to a first finger bar, I'm afraid, a 3/4 bar now, playing 3 strings together. And just to add a little something extra to our performance when we're playing this, rather than just playing that straight shape on beat 1, we could play the just 5th fret, but then hammer up to that A string 7th. Just to add a little something extra there. So beat 1, if we just do the bar on the 5th fret, on the A, E and C string, and then play those 3 notes, but straight after, really quickly, just hammer that A string up to the 7th fret. It's not a slow hammer, it's a really quick one, because that 7th fret is our melody note, the 5th fret we don't really want to be hearing, it's just to get us up to that 7th with a little extra fanciness there. So beat 1, and then let that ring over beat 1, then beat 2, little gentle G string tap, not melody, rhythm, but then straight after on the and after beat 2, we are playing melody now, which is just that 5th fret, C, E and A. So just the first finger bar on the end after beat 2. Let that ring over beat 3, and then these last 3 notes, and 4, and we just work up this chord, G string open, C string 5th, E string 5th, single note picks. So that measure there. But that and after beat 4, that one is a melody note. The 2 before it, the G string open, C string 5th, they're just little fillers. So as we come up this chord, those 2 quiet, that one a little bit louder because it's melody. Okay, and then into measure 14, we're now playing all 8th notes. So we're playing the rhythm 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we're going to play this shape again, this D minor add 9 on beat 1, and then pinky on the 8th fret on the A string, single note pick, the end after beat 1, then beat 2, just come back to the 7th fret but play it with the E string at the 5th, and then take that 3rd finger off to play the A string at the 5th on the and after beat 2. So that little section of 4 notes, that's what we're going for. And then on beat 3, a little rhythmic tap, quiet little tap of the open G, a quiet little pick of the C string 5th, but then a slightly louder pick of the E string 8th, which the pinky will take, because that one's melody, and then the G string open at the end of that measure on the and after beat 4 is just a little rhythmic tap again on that G string. You could even leave that one out, that last G string open on the and after beat 4, that could even be left out, to be honest with you. Okay, so those 2 measures again. Brilliant. So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures together now. 2, 3, 4. So on to measures 15 and 16 now. They should sound like this. Okay, so let's have a go at them. So measure 15 is all 8th notes rhythmically. We're just doing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we're starting on this G7 shape, just a standard open G7 shape down in first position. So in terms of getting there, we've got a little bit of a transition because we finished our previous measure, measure 14, here, and then we want to be at the G7 shape now. So as we play that E string at the 8th on beat 4 of measure 14, as you play it, I tend to just slide that note down and keep the pressure on and get that kind of slide sound because I think it sounds quite good, and just slide it as you're coming down. And you could play that open G on the and after beat 4 as a little filler as you're doing that to get down here, or you could leave it out and just have that E string at the 8th as your last note of that measure before coming into this. So if I do measures 14 into this measure 15 so you can see that transition, we would have, no we wouldn't, we'd have, okay. So slide it down, optional G string tap to get into that position. So as you're sliding it, think about these fingers and what they're doing. They want to be hitting a G7 shape, so kind of get them thinking about where they're going. And when you get there, they're just going to drop on to that. You could practice that change. Pinky on the 8th, and just practice that slide down into that G7 shape, because it's a little tricky transition, that one, to get there in time. So once again, so you're ready to go. So beat 1 is that full G7 chord, and then the and after beat 1, keep it held, but add the pinky onto the A string at the 3rd for that single note pick. Beat 2, back to the 2nd fret, so just take that pinky off, and then our 3rd finger's doing the job there already, so pick that on beat 2, and then and after beat 2, pick it again, but this time pick it with the E string at the 1st, and then the beat 3, we're just going to do a little gentle G string tap. That's not melody, so nice and quiet. But then the and after beat 3, back up to the 3rd fret, so pinky back on, A string at the 3rd, that is melody, pick that a bit louder. Beat 4, not melody, little tap of the G string, and then the and after beat 4 is back to melody again, so just a full now G chord, but not a G7. So here we need to do a quick change to a normal G major chord at the end of that measure there. Okay, so we have, okay, so that last one there, a little cheeky change from the G7 just up to the G major. So again, you could practice that change, that transition G7 to G major. Practice that a few times to get that working nicely for you. So there we go. So then straight into measure 16, we're going to play and 2 and 3 and 4. So this first beat, beat 1, we're not playing, we're just letting that G chord from the previous measure ring over beat 1, or the first part of beat 1, because the and after beat 1 we do play, and we play this G note here, the E string at the 3rd, single note pick, that's a melody note, and that's the last melody note of that section, so we pick that quite loud, relatively loud, but then the rest of this measure is just a little filler section to complete this measure in this section. So it's all based on the G chord, so after we've played that on the and after beat 1, we then just play everything else gentle, beat 2, open G, and after beat 2, C string at the 2nd, it's all part of our chord, beat 3, E string at the 3rd, and after beat 3, back to the open G, and then the only thing we have to do now is put our pinky on the A string at the 5th, because our final note there on beat 4 is that single note pick of the A string at the 5th. Okay, so that sequence at the end we'd have, that's what we're playing, nice and quiet, just to fill in that section. So those two measures again, measures 15 and 16, we would have and that completes that section and the end of the chorus. So let's have a go at playing those two measures through together now. 2, 3, 4. On to the C section now. We have this nice little instrumental bit just before we get into the first proper verse. So these two measures to begin with, measures 17 and 18 should sound like this. Okay, so that's what we're going for. So at the beginning of measure 17, we're on this C chord, just a normal open C chord with the A string at the 3rd fret, everything else open. And that is on beat 1. And the rhythm here we're going for is 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. So beat 1 is that strum on the C chord, let that ring, and then on beat 2 and the end after beat 2, 2 little 8th notes, we're just going to hit the C string open and the E string open. And then on beat 3, we want to go for this cool little harmonic at the 12th fret. Now, normally we would play a harmonic with the left hand, resting over the 12th fret, and pick it like that. But we want to keep our left hand down here because we've got some sort of intricate work to do. Not intricate, but we've got some work to do down here with the left hand. So we're going to play the harmonics purely with the right hand. This might be a technique you're familiar with. If not, I'll kind of show you briefly how we do it. What we want to do to get that G string harmonic at the 12th fret, what we'll do is rest the index finger of your right hand, your picking hand, just on the string, kind of how you would do a normal harmonic, so just resting it gently on the string directly over the 12th fret. But then we want to use the thumb, or sometimes one of the other fingers. I've seen people use the other fingers. You choose whatever works best for you. It's absolutely fine. I go with the thumb to pick the string behind where the first finger is just touching at the 12th fret. So the thumb comes behind. So both the index finger and the thumb are on the same string. This one's just resting. This one's ready to pick. And then, just like you do a normal harmonic, you would just lift the pressure off the string very, very quickly. As soon as you picked it, just take the finger off, let that harmonic ring. As I say, I've seen people play it kind of with one of the other fingers and do it that way. As you can see, that's awkward for me. I've not practiced it that way. I use the thumb. But either way it works. Have a little go at that, give that a practice. So that harmonic at the 12th fret is on beat 3. Then we let that ring for a quarter note. Then on beat 4, we've got this little C, open C string filler note. So nice and quiet on that one. But then the and after beat 4, we want to hit this E string at the 3rd fret, this G note, with a bit of volume because that's kind of part of this little instrumental section. You would hear that on the original, that note coming through there. So that measure 17 was just... Okay, brill. So if we take that straight into measure 18, we would then just tap the open G on beat 1. And again, that's one of those rhythmic kind of fiddle little taps there. There's not melody or even part of the instrumental, so we kind of just do that nice and gentle. And then let that ring for a quarter note on beat 2. We then hit the open C string. Again, quite quietly because we don't want to hear that too loud. It's just filling that space in. But then the last 4 eighth notes in this measure, we do want to hear these because these are a key part of this instrumental. So we're already holding the E string at the 3rd fret with this finger here. So we just pick that on beat 3, and then we just work our way up this kind of C scale, if you like, from that beat 3 to the end of this measure. So what we'd have from beat 3 onwards, we would have... Okay, so just working up there, E string at the 3rd, A string open, first finger on the A string at the 2nd, and then up to the A string at the 3rd. Okay, so together those measures would be... So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures together now. 2, 3, 4. So then we lead straight into measures 19 and 20. They should sound like this. Okay, so we've got some more sort of funky harmonics going in there, so we'll look at those shortly. But to begin with, back to the beginning of measure 19, we're going to go to this A minor add 11 shape, so kind of an A minor, but then with the pinky on the A string at the 5th fret, 2 middle strings open. We'll play all of them. I think when I play it, I pick them, but you could strum it, it's entirely up to you. So we're playing here in measure 19, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. Okay, so beat 1 is that A minor add 11 chord. Let that ring. Then on beat 2, we're going to go to the A string at the 3rd. So the pinky will come off, the 3rd finger will take the A string at the 3rd, leave the 1st finger on though, and then single note pick on beat 2, and then a little filler note, this G string at the second, we'll just tap that with the thumb, and then on beat 3, take that third finger off to open up the A string and play that double stop there, the A open and the E open together on beat 3. Okay, and then we have this little run of kind of just little filler notes which we'll play quite quietly. So these begin with these last two eighth notes in measure 19, so on beat 4 and the end after beat 4, we're just going to hit the G string at the second, which is already being held there, and then the C string open, nice and quietly there. Okay, so that measure in isolation was... But then if we carry on into measure 20, we keep this little run going of filler notes. So we're going to play here all eighth notes in this measure 20. Beat 1, just continuing from the previous measure, is this open E string. So we'll pick that nice and gentle, and then go straight into the next eighth note, G string at the second again, then onto C string open, and then E string open. Okay, so that's the and after beat 2 we're up to now. So 1 and 2 and of this measure is just... Okay, all around the A minor chord that we're holding. And then to finish off this measure 20, we've got these three 12th fret harmonics with an open A at the end. So this next run of 4 notes, we would have... Okay, so that's what we're going for. So a little bit like we did before, it's the same technique for these harmonics, but we've got 3 in a row to play now, which can be a little bit tricky to kind of coordinate. So probably worth practicing just that sequence there. So it's the G string at the 12th, then up to the E string at the 12th, then back down to the C string at the 12th. But then after we've done them, straight after the final beat here, the final part of this measure, the and after beat 4, we're just going to hit that open A string, probably with the third finger, but again, whatever finger's free or you fancy using, I think it'll work fine. So to play that a little bit slower for you, those harmonics, including that A string open, you would have... Okay, so the thumb and the index finger are busy with the harmonics. This third finger's getting ready just to pick that open A. And that's those last 4 eighth notes, 3 and 4 and at the end there. So if we play those 2 measures again together, we would have... Brill. So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures through together now. 2, 3, 4. On to measures 20 and 21 now. They should sound like this. Okay, so a bit of strumming and then some more funky harmonics going on. So where are we at with measure 21? We're starting with this D minor 7 shape. Okay, I've got a bit of strumming to do here. So the rhythm we're going to play is 1, 2 and 4 and. But the easiest way to think about this is on beat 1, we kind of just pick the notes of that that chord, but then we just do a down up down up strum. So pick, down up down up. That's the easiest way to think about the rhythm for that measure there. So 1, 2 and 4 and. But also think of it as pick, down up down up. Okay, and then on to measure 22, we just finish off that sequence with beat 1, which is the final down strum of that chord, and then we keep that chord held because everything else happens around that chord now. And then on beat 2 and the and after beat 2, because then it's all eighth notes now, so we've got 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and in this measure. So beat 1 we just done, that was that strum of that chord. Beat 2 and the and after beat 2, little filler notes, just hit that G string at the second and then the E string at the first, just the 2 notes that are being held by that chord. Pick them nice and quiet. And then the last 4 notes, a little bit like in the last section we looked at, 3 and 4 and. These are all these kind of harmonics, key part of the instrumental, so we want these to ring out nice and clear. So we've got the A string at the 12th this time, so beat 3, we hit that one, but then on the E string it's the F note that we're doing as the harmonic. So because we're fretting the first note with our first finger, that means our harmonic is shifted up 1 fret, so it's actually the 13th fret on the E string that we want to be doing. Okay, and then the open C string, so back to the 12th fret for that one there. Okay, so we're doing 12, 13, 12. Down the strings in that sequence, the A, the E and the C. Okay, and then the final note of this measure is this B note, which is the A string at the 2nd fret. So we're going to put that on with our 3rd finger here. And that's not a harmonic, we're just going to pick that note because it kind of works in sequence with the harmonics. So we just pick that single note, the A string at the 2nd, 3rd finger takes it, and that's the end of that measure there. So that little harmonic section at the end, once again, would just be... Okay, and then we pick with one of these other 3 fingers. I usually use my 3rd finger, but whichever one is free and is comfortable for you, just use that finger. So those 2 measures, once again, 21 and 22, would be... Smashing. So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures together now. 2, 3, 4. On to measures 23 and 24 now. They're going to sound like this. Okay, so at the end of measure 22, we were holding this D minor 7 shape with our 3rd finger added to the A string at the 2nd, because that was the last note we played in the previous measure. But now we want to turn this shape into just a normal G7 shape. So these 2 fingers are already in place. This 2nd finger that's over on the A string just wants to come up to the C string there, and then we're holding our G7. So these 2 fingers just stay on. This one moves into the G7 position. So this is very similar rhythmic. Well, it's the same rhythmically as measure 21, where we strummed on that D minor 7 chord. So we've got a down, down, up, down, up going on here. We could pick that first beat on beat 1 and then do our down, up, down, up strums. So then into measure 24, we just complete that strumming section on beat 1 with a final down strum of that G7 chord. Then we let that ring for a quarter note, and then the rest of the measure is all 8th notes. So we're going to play 2 and 3 and 4 and after we've done that strum on beat 1. So the 2 and the and, it's all based on this chord. It's just the G string open and the C string at the 2nd, which we'll hold in there. So just pick those notes quite nice and quietly because they're just filler. But then 3 and 4 are going to be a little bit louder because we want to hear them a little bit louder. Then the final note, the and after beat 4, is just another little quiet tap of that open G. Okay, so beat 2, the and after beat 2, and then beat 3, we're going to pick this E string at the 1st, single note pick, but then pull that off onto the open E to get the and after beat 3. Then on beat 4, take the C string at the 2nd, which is being held there by that 2nd finger, and then this nice quiet tap of the open G with the thumb. So that measure 24 was... That's what we're going for. So the 2 measures together, measures 23 and 24, would be... Smashing. So let's try those 2 measures through together now. 2, 3, 4.
Alright guys, so I hope you've enjoyed learning the first half of this tune. Now if you want to watch the part 2 lesson to learn the second half, you can do so by clicking this link right here or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for Last Christmas. Now also on that page was the tabs that you can print off, keep for your records, plus the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. So you can literally hit play, you can watch that tab scroll across in real time. You can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So again, guys, I hope you've enjoyed learning the first part of this tune, and we'll see you in the part 2 lesson. And I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. Take care.